All right, welcome back to Fire to Fork. 2 years ago, Cub Campers gave me a Frontier to try out, and I've been trying it out. So I think I've done maybe 70 trips in this Cub, something like that. So I think I'm pretty qualified to talk about it. Now, after 2 years, it's not even the current model anymore. It's probably 95% the same as current model. So if you are looking at a brand new Cub Frontier, it's going to be mainly there, but I think they have more lithium, slightly different graphics, different tap, and the water pump is in a different spot. There are probably more changes than that, but those are the ones I absolutely know about. So I'm going to go through the things that have failed on it, and what I like about it and how I found it. But first, let's just do a quick walk around of it. And I'll show you those bits as we walk around. So come with me. Thanks, Jess, for holding the camera. Jess is an accountant, not a videographer. So if the camera work is crap, then still blame her. So kitchen, this just slides out. Really simple. Big difference between the Frontier and the Scout. I'm not great with the different models, sorry, because I only have one. Is this extra bit, and this is the bit, if you watch all my cooking videos, this is where I do all my stuff, is just on this basically. In here is a Dometic cooker, three burner, and a tap with hot water and cold. Now, the hot water system is my favorite thing about this whole camper. When you go camping with a hot water system for the first time, it genuinely is just mind-blowing. You're like, is it even camping when you have hot water? So I find washing up in it and just using it for washing my hands and just everything, I find it really, really, really nice. To connect that up, you just have these 3 little plugs at the back here. There's a little door, and that takes a few seconds. You turn the taps on, plug it in, all good, right? Now, continuing on, I've got the optioned boxes on the back. I think these are just about the most useful things in the world because you can get into them anytime you want. They are fully dust sealed. There's not okay, that's been on top for 2 years, and there's not a speck of dust on it. This gets in the way because I've got the fly. Now, this is a Min-Leighton fly or tropical blanket or whatever, Min-Leighton thermal blanket. It is fantastic, particularly for hot weather. It definitely helps in cold weather. I can run an aircon in this, and I can run a heater in this, and that really helps with, you know, getting it to the next level. But if I'm just solo, I never run any kind of a heat adjustment thing. Just this makes, well, what it does is it turns it from being 10-15 degrees warmer inside the camper to sort of 5 degrees cooler than the ambient temperature. So if it's a 40-degree day, you go inside the camper and it's 35. Previously, if it was a 40-degree day, you go inside the camper and it's 55. So just because it's a canvas tent, right? Like at the top, it's still a canvas tent. There's nothing you can do about that other than have some sort of an extra layer. If you live in a really mild climate, or if you live in a really cold climate, might not be worth it for you. If you live in a hot climate, these things are absolutely phenomenal. I haven't taken it off since I got it. Now, what I will say is in really windy environments, the canvas on this camper does not flap anywhere, but I run a couple of little straps on the blanket just to tension that up a bit, because it sits above and because it's not properly connected to the canvas, that will flap in heavy winds. So, but with these couple of little straps, so I spent about 15 minutes just kind of fiddling with it just to get it right for the wind direction and stuff like that. And you can see it's windy and it's not flapping. So, and it was windy all last night and it didn't flap. I've got a little K-on bracket on the back here, which has some max tracks, mini max tracks. These are for a jacking plate and to level the wheels. And yeah, I find them very useful. Carrying on around here, I like to leave, they come with these little struts. This creates really good airflow, but also keeps it sort of cool inside and not too bright. I find these really useful. With the thermal blanket, I can't use the one for the rear unless they've got like a Velcro thing up there. You can like tear it off, and you can have it set up, but I just haven't used it since I got the blanket because I find the blanket more useful and a bit easier to set up. And to connect the blanket, I just have some bungee cord around the place. I just got a roll of bungee cord from Bunnings and just tied it all up. Now, this is not plugged into solar, it's not plugged into anything. It's currently at 79%, and we've got one full tank and a quarter of another tank. Both of us have had showers. We've been honestly using water like, I said to Jess, I was like, I don't want to take this water home because it adds weight. So we've been using water like crazy, and I've never ever had water anxiety or power anxiety with this thing. I know that for the 3 days I'm here, I do not need to plug solar into this. I'll run everything I want to, the hot water system beyond the entire time. I probably get 20 days out of a gas bottle for hot water. 4.5 kilo gas bottle. So the Truma hot water system is phenomenal. And I use an external diesel heater in winter, just purely because I have really little kids who aren't good at staying under blankets. They just roll out. If it was just us, fine, just have an extra doona. 15 amp cable lives in there, and I usually keep the shower in there. So I've got the off-grid pack, I think it's called, which has the twin water tanks. So 180 litres in there, plus 20 plus 20, so 220 all up in jerry cans. So at the moment I'm carrying 200 litres. So I've got this all filled and then one jerry of water. I just keep the jerry of water just as just in case I leave the tap on or something like that, or if there's a leak. Worst case scenario, I've got 20 litres of water. It's got a USB and power outlet there, they're useful, and then mains power here, so that's for the sort of shore power. Onto the first thing I've broken, I somehow lost this bolt, so it's held up with a piece of wire on the mud flap. Very serious breakage, as you can see, extremely serious. I just haven't got around to putting a new bolt in that, so it's probably a $1 breakage. That's the outlet for the hot water system. This is the shower. I do have a shower tent that I can use, but at the moment we're camped out. There's no one around, so I'm happy to get naked in front of a bush. But I do actually carry one of these Julka shower tents, which is very good. It's a double, so you can have a toilet on one side and a shower, or you can have a change room and a shower and an area to shower. They are a very, very nice unit. They're very quick to put up, and the bag is big enough for them. In here is just storage. This is just a big storage unit. So I've got all my stuff in here. I can fit a ton of gear in here. I used to keep the main awning in here, but I actually haven't unzipped it in like a year. It's just stayed on there. The only time I unzipped it actually was for the four-wheel drive show because there was a tree in the way, so I couldn't set it up. But I just leave it on, and yes, you can fold this up with the thermal blanket on it and the main awning and bedding. No worries. Not no worries, but it works. It's a little bit tight, but definitely doable. On the front here, there is a little hand washing tap, which I actually don't use very much. I did initially, but I have a tap on the back of my Prado, so after I've hitched, I tend to just use that. They are a good thing though. The one thing they have changed is they've added a sub tap on that. Now, the one thing that's failed in this, the one actual proper thing that's failed in this, is the water pump did die. And Cub have identified the problem with this because it's happened on a few. And the problem was that the water pumps don't like dust, and you can get dust in through this tap. So they've put a sub tap on that so that the dust can't get in. And then they've also moved the water pump from underneath to inside, so it can't get any dust in it, no matter what happens. So yeah, that died it actually died bang on 2 years into owning the camper. It It was a super simple replacement. I did it myself in the backyard, but they would have happily done it under warranty. It's just that I needed it quickly, and the local shop was booked out. So yeah, but it took me like, I don't know, 20 minutes to replace. Just needed some tech screws really, and a drill. Okay, coming forward, I've got the extended drawbar. If you have, well, look, you kind of have to make up your own mind based on what kind of car you have. If you have a standard ute with a tub, you probably don't need it. If you have a Prado, you absolutely need it because you want to be able to open your door. If you have a ute with a tray that overhangs a bit, you definitely want an extended drawbar. So this is extended by, I think, 400 mil. I wouldn't have one without it. I've also got the ARC 750 jockey wheel on here, which is unreal because it has massive adjustment. I went for the DO35 hitch. That has jammed on me twice. Once yesterday actually, and that was simply because there was so much sand in it from the trip here because I got a little bit bogged. Because yeah, I just didn't get a good enough run up coming off the beach. That got a bunch of sand in it. I gave it a quick blowout and it worked. The other time was just about a year into owning it. It had a bunch of dust and stuff in it and it just jammed up. And all I did was give it a tap with a hammer, a little light tap with a hammer, sprayed some WD-40 on it and it was perfect. So very low maintenance. Hitching on with a DO35, because it's a cone shaped hitch, is unbelievably good compared to a 50 mil. I love this hitch and I can't see myself having an off-road trailer without it. Now the awning, I've used I'm not going to name names, but I've used a non-Australian made camper that's very, very popular, probably the most popular. And putting up that camper, I think would lead to divorce, depression, maybe even PTSD. It is one of the worst things I've ever had to experience. This is, you kind of just chill out. You're like, okay, it's going to take 8 minutes, 10 minutes in the wind, and you slowly put it up and then it's done. And when it's done, I can literally park my Prado under here. It's 5.8 meters, I think, something like that, by 2.5 meters. There's so much room under here, it's ridiculous. So I definitely, like, if you're moving from another camper and you're used to the nightmare that is putting up the awning, these are just not a nightmare. They're really not. That's why I leave it on, because I use it basically every single time. Unless it's just a one-nighter and it's beautiful weather and all that kind of stuff, I just put it up because it's just not that hard. In the front, here's a pantry. This has been perfect. It's 1.4 meters long and it's also messy. So it's huge, absolutely massive. I just need to clean this out. I'm going to get some bags to fit it properly and stuff because it's my fault. It's too much room, so I put junk in it. And then this bit here up here is a full tunnel boot thing where I put these. It's where all the poles for the awning go, and I've got some gloves in here, and I've got an axe and some very long tongs and a shovel and a light and a shower tent, and there's still heaps of room. So plenty of room in there. I must say, storage in this thing is just not an issue. I've got a 96 litre fridge. This is just a my Coolman dual zone, and it's great. It's very powerful, actually. I'm very fussy with fridges, and I've got a Snowmaster in the Prado, and that is unbelievably powerful. And I don't know, that's kind of an old school design, the Snowmaster, and I was unsure if these more modern, very efficient fridges would have the grunt. And it's almost always the case, I know certainly with the old Dometics, where they would use the same compressor as the smaller model in the bigger model, and they just ran hard and they ran hot and they weren't efficient and they didn't get that cold. And I haven't found that at all with the Muk Mats. it cranks. It honestly cranks. So I've had that for a year. Yeah, I'd love to give you a 10-year review or something on that, but that's how long I've had it, and it's really good. Now, I've also got this optional side shelf. I don't know how best to say this, but if you're bigger, don't get the side shelf. And the reason for that is when you're washing up, you got to fit. I'm 180 centimeters and about 80 kilos. I fit. Some other people don't. That's just the reality. That's how much room there is. So I know some people who got it and then didn't use it because they didn't fit so well. So yeah, look, I don't spend much time here. Well, I do actually, I cook here and stuff, but my washing up, I don't tend to find myself trying to fit in the gap. I just kind of do this. Maybe because I've got longer arms. Maybe if you're like Jess or like my wife, who's very small, they would sit here, not offset. But yeah, I find just pivoting like that. Anyway, that's just an observation. You do you. In here is just a cutlery drawer, so I've got like 3 breadboards, all my cutlery, all my utensils, some tinder shreds, a knife sharpener. Like, there's so much stuff in here, it's ridiculous. This drawer is actually quite small. It looks big, but because it has to go under the sink, you can put some flat things in there, but it's real. The main usable bit is this, so I can put like sponges and stuff, but that's not a huge drawer just because that's the nature of the space, right? There's only so much you can fit. I've seen some people on the Cub Facebook page also who you can add like a little shelf here. That's quite cool. I haven't found a need for it, but I like the idea. So they got like a Kmart shelf and chucked it under there. Cool idea, cool idea. There's a little light outside, which I sometimes use, sometimes don't. The main light I do use, and I actually love, is this big LED here. Jess, if you come around here, it's actually still on. I left it on last night. So it's a dimmable LED strip. That is a phenomenal amount of light at night. It's honestly like, it's really quite powerful. It uses no power, but creates like, it's a really good bit of light. All right, let's go inside and have a look. Oh, also, I've added these Muk Mats. I've got 4 Muk Mats now. It's like an obsession. I've done it color coded, so I've gone gray inside and then green outside. Just, I don't know, just kind of makes sense to me. I've also added these to the step. They strap on because these steps have little holes in them, and Fred actually got one of his claws stuck in it and he ripped the claw out. So if you have a dog, it's really worth noting that. It's not a cub thing, it's just the nature of having holes in your steps. I will always cover my steps now with my dog. If it was people and you don't have a dog or a clumsy dog, you'll probably be fine. But yeah, absolutely, with a dog, chuck something over these steps. You know, you could permanently put something over them, tape or whatever if you wanted to, as a temporary measure, but these are nice. So as a result, my camper stays pretty clean because I've got all these mats. They also hold a phenomenal amount of sand, and I use a sea gear mat outside just because there's no better mat. Honestly, they're just amazing. You can drop sand on them and it just filters through perfectly. All right, let's get inside. All right, inside we have a bed, which is known as a Cub. They call it a Cub King, which means it's a little bit longer than a king bed. I think it's about the same as a queen width-wise, maybe a touch wider. It is a 130 mil proper inner sprung slumber care mattress with a latex pillow top. It's phenomenally comfortable. like it's, I feel unbelievably bougie in this bed. I get in it and I'm just like, this is unreal. Like it's so good. There's tons of room. There's big storage on each side. There are USB points, there are lights, all that stuff everywhere. So charge your phone, read a book, you know, all that kind of stuff, no worries up here. I've also put in 2 Sirocco fans. These are, you know, if you know anything about Sirocco fans, they don't come with anything. They don't come with any mounting hardware. They don't come with anything. They don't even come with a plug. So I've just mounted these with, that's on, so that's, you hear they're nice and quiet, that's on full power, 2 fans on full power. I've just basically put some little clips from Bunnings on there with a zip tie, and then I've wired them up to a single 12 volt plug. There's two 12 volt plugs there. One powers the light up here, one powers the fans. They work really well. I think there's a company called Safety Dave that make a copy of this, and I've heard they're really good. I've never tried one, but it could be worth looking at because these are about 240 bucks each. It's a seriously expensive fan. And it doesn't make sense to me because they're good, but like they're quite inconsistent with the quality. So like this one is about 50% less powerful than this one. Bought at the same shop on the same day. I'm definitely going to give those Safety Dave ones a try because I think, like, how can that be? Anyway, it's enough about fans. I've also got an electric blanket under here, so I can either plug the electric blanket in or the fans, because I've never needed both for obvious reasons. It's got vents here with either plastic over them or mesh. So yeah, they work well. And then you can black it all out really easily with these curtains. They're just Velcro, and the whole thing stays quite dark in here. You can also, if you want to, you can close these to isolate you from the other area, but I can't say we've ever done that. You can also remove that completely if you wanted to. It's just Velcro up there. Big vents up the top here to let air flow through or light in or whatever. All the canvas is proper, like wax converters, Australian canvas. It's the best canvas in the world. There's just no other word for it. It doesn't, I've actually left, I managed to get this wet, and I closed the whole thing up, and I actually got my doona got a little bit moldy. The canvas didn't. It was totally my fault. I didn't set the camper up properly, and I left a vent open, and we got like torrential rain, and it got wet. So the canvas is very mold proof, which is really, really nice. Unlike my doona, which went in the bin. Big vent at the end there. Yeah, it's just a comfy place to sleep. It's just really comfy. Now I'm going to show you how I actually use the camper, and then I'll talk more about that. Right, well, let's switch places. Before I do that, there is a stereo in here, Fusion stereo with speakers. Yeah, it's great if you want to. We've used it a few times particularly in like bad weather. You can sit inside here, sit around the table and stuff, and listen to that. But yeah, it's a stereo. It's good. Tons of storage under here. This little tiny one in the corner here, that can fit 2 cartons of beer. That's an idea of how big these are. I've got stuff in here that I probably just shouldn't have in here. Like I've got stuff I haven't touched in over a year. That's a projector for movies in here, because I did that once. Look, there's a bubble gun for my kids. Tons and tons and tons of storage under here. There's also storage under here. That's where I can fit a ton of stuff through there. The hot water system's here, and then there's lots more storage here, as well as like the big inverter. Got a 2000 watt inverter in here. It's just a storage monster, really. There's more storage under there. What I will say is the nature of a forward fold camper is you can't access that storage unless the camper is popped up. So that's something to consider. The stuff I put in here is stuff I don't change trip to trip. I've got my electrical bag. I've got a toolkit. I've got not toolkit. Sorry, I've got a socket set because I don't need a socket set day to day. But if something happened, I can pop the camper up and get it. I keep my chairs in here because I don't need my chairs if I'm not in the camper. And I've got like a camp oven and things that, yeah, I don't really need. It's also really good for quite heavy stuff because it sits like right over the axle. The axle's there. So I put like my fire reflector under there and stuff. But yeah, just so you know, like, but I can fit maybe like 5 chairs on the floor here. And yeah, so it's a proper amount of storage plus all the other bits and pieces. All right, now I'll switch. This is the other bed. So it's a strange shape, okay? So you can absolutely sleep an adult here. I know I've had a mate sleep in here, no worries, but I'm 180 centimeters, so you have to sleep on a bit of an angle. You can have one very long person here and like a shorter person. I think this is unreal for kids or one adult, but it's kind of unusual to have like 2 people sleeping there and then one person sleeping, another adult in your camper, but it definitely does work. But this is actually a lounge room. So this all pops up, it's very easy to set up. I rarely do that. I rarely use it as a lounge room. I use it as a really good storage area. I put my clothes bag here. I put our kids' crib, like a porta cot here. I find it really useful for that. But the truth is, I like sitting outside. So I don't actually set this up as a lounge room very often at all. I set it up at shows. I set it up in bad weather because it only takes like 2 minutes. Yeah, as I said, I go camping in good weather. I sit outside. I think if we were going around Australia or something, I might use it more. But also, as you can see, it's a very comfortable place just to sit. So I'd happily just sit here and, like, if the weather was bad for an hour, I don't know that I'd set it up. I think I'd just hang out in here. But it's for me, it's a somewhere to put your clothes, somewhere to put your. You can see I've got a couple of cameras here. I've got my pantry here. I've got a GoPro there. And it's just useful area. There's also tons of storage underneath, which is great. As I said, you can put all your chairs and stuff under there. Now, as far as setting this thing up, you don't have to pop any poles up, which I love. And I showed some people who have another brand of camper how it pops up at the show, and they were honestly blown away because everything is just on struts. So you just pull this down to fold it up, and then when you're popping it up, you winch the whole top over, and then this you literally just touch. Just give it a tap and it goes pop and you're set up. It's so quick to set up and just so different to so many other brands where you're sitting there popping up poles, inserting crossbars, you know, there's just none of that. It's just roll it over, pop. And I didn't know how good that was till I tried another camper or a couple of other campers, and I just suddenly went, wow, there's a big difference between the Australian made ones and the imported ones. Like, there's obviously a difference in price, but there's a huge difference in usability and quality. Ignore this, it's biltong. We're making biltong because why not? Final thoughts. Okay, what's it like traveling with this thing? I initially thought that I would, when I got it, I was like, oh, I'll probably just use it sometimes because it's quite big. It's like 5.8 meters long. So I was like, well, you know, I probably won't use it as much as I'd use like a swag or something that's like simple and light. It's the exact opposite. This is so much quicker and easier and better to camp with than any other setup I've ever had. The other setups aren't even in the same league. You don't need anything in your car if you have this. You can have a bog standard car. It's light to tow. It's 1,185 kilos dry. By the time I've put all my junk in it, and I mean, I have a lot of stuff in here, full water tanks, full everything, it's 1.78 ton, so 1,780 kilos. Drawbar weight is about 180, I think. Stock, it was 105. So that's, you know, again, with all my stuff, with a chainsaw on it, with wood, with full jerry cans, with like the lot. This is, you know, ready to go to the moon. So it's light, it's very light. My fuel economy goes up by about 3 litres per 100 with a 4-cylinder. 4-cylinder towing, my engine is bog standard and it's 0 issues with power. I can comfortably overtake at good speeds. It doesn't wobble at all. Anywhere, like any sort of terrain that the car can handle, this thing can pretty much handle. The only time it's ever really slowed me down is on like a big, slippery, rutty, muddy hill. On the sand, yeah, like it's there, but I can do sand dunes, I can do beach driving, I can do whatever, and it pulls it, no worries. It's it's so easy to drive. The other thing is it's only 1.9 meters wide, so it's the same width as the Prado, which is fantastic. Don't need towing mirrors, although that's a whole thing. Maybe you need towing mirrors, maybe you don't. I don't know. You make up your own mind, but haven't found a need for them. I can see behind me perfectly well. It tracks really well with the car, and I mean it's as wide as like a little Patriot or something. It just doesn't get in the way. The only thing is it's long. So all up, I'm an 11 meter combination, and that is what it is. It's just a long camper, but you really reap the rewards from having a long camper. I've said it so many times in videos, but every trailer is a compromise. If you want a short camper, you're going to have less room inside. It's going to be harder to set up to get equivalent room, all that kind of stuff. If you want to not have to set up a canvas awning, then yeah, you are going to have a caravan, which is going to weigh more and all that kind of stuff. So there are all these considerations for what kind of trailer you want to select. For me, in my situation so far, this has been unreal, absolutely unreal. My perfect camper now, with 2 little kids, might not be a camper trailer. It might be a hybrid. We'll see. But if you're looking for a camper trailer, a lot of people have asked why I didn't go for the Drifter, which is a dual fold. It's got another thing out the back with another bed. Truth is, I camp mainly solo because of my job. I go out, I cook solo, maybe one other person, but I don't tend to go for camping with my family as much, as annoying as that is. It's just the reality. If I only went camping with my family, I would have a Drifter without a shadow of a doubt, because then you get an extra bed, so I could put Billy in the extra bed, I could put Hugo in the porta cot in the middle or whatever, or in with Billy, and then we can sleep there, and you still have all this room in the middle. Absolutely, it takes a couple of extra minutes to set up. I have actually set up a Drifter, but it would be really, really good as if I only went camping with my family. But again, the reality is I mainly go and do this. So this is faster, lighter, less expensive, simpler to set up. It works for me. If you're a couple, I would say I can't think of a camper that I would prefer over this as a couple with a dog, and yeah, just for traveling. This is unbelievably good. Unbelievably good. And if I had a 4 and 6 year old, absolutely all day, every day, this camper is phenomenal. Or one kid, anyway, it's even now, like, as far as camper trailers go, I don't know that I'd want a different one. Money, no object. I've looked at it. I've actually been offered, I don't know how many camper trailers, but well over 10 from different companies. Lots of companies have approached me and said, hey, would you like to run our camper? And I've said no to all of them. This is genuinely the camper I want to use, even though Cub is a sponsor of the show. This is still just the camper I want to use, regardless of anything. I don't use any products that I don't want to use. So yeah. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. 2 years, 70 trips, bloody good camper. See you in the next one.